Cool. So welcome back, everyone. Thanks for joining once again for the Happe Chappe Podcast. Today I have a special guest, Robin, on the podcast today, and it's going to be really, really cool. Thanks for being with us, Robin. I really appreciate it. And let's get straight into it. So I know you're a fan of horror movies, apparently, according to Kashan, who's another one of our friends. What do you love about horror movies?
Well, quite a lot actually. I kind of like the thrill of it. I also quite like the characters in it, both the antagonist and protagonist side. Just in terms of like the genre as like a whole, it kind of really keeps you on its toes, and so also it has like a myriad of different concepts and like different like ideas, and it's definitely like a genre that I'm always down to watch. In fact, there was once a time when I was over with a group of people, and Sundays were like horror movie night, so we always had like one like stacked away, like cool, we're watching this one. So yeah, dude, huge fan.
Nice, that's awesome. Okay, so I wanted to know from you, in your opinion, what makes like a really good horror movie? Like, what are the elements that make a good horror movie?
For example, you need relatable characters. So, but also characters with depth. So I actually, here's like an example. I watched the remake of Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. First I watched Nightmare, and then I watched Friday. And I left Nightmare like thinking, okay, it's pretty cool. I engaged with the characters more. And then I saw Friday, and I had seen previous movies like both beforehand, so it wasn't anything new to me. But I saw Friday, and it felt really hollow, because with the characters in Nightmare, like, they are more layered, so you would actually like relate to them more. They actually had like a personal like arc, like from like not knowing like who this scary guy is in the nightmares, to actually like a very dark thing that happened in their past. I'm like, this happened to us? Oh, okay. Whereas in Friday the 13th, things are just very, very cardboard cut up, if I can say. Like, it's just kind of like stereotypes. So I didn't find myself relating to them. They just weren't really layered. So one definite kind of aspect of horror, and actually in any genre, is definitely being able to relate to layered characters.
100%, yeah. That's cool. I like that answer. So for you now, like, I know horror has kind of changed over the years a bit, with regards to the way they make horror films and some of the techniques they use in making horror films. What do you think is like some of the bigger changes that they made over the years? And do you like the direction horror is kind of going now, or do you kind of prefer the old school, like John Carpenter vibes and, that sort of vibe? Like, yeah.
So with well, there are like quite a few like modern day horrors that I do like really enjoy, but there is just kind of like a trend, if I kind of can say that, where that there's like a bit more emphasis placed on like demons and like that kind of stuff, and it seems more like a Hollywood kind of thing. Meanwhile, like I'm onto like indie kind of like horrors that are not really that do have like a very good structure, but aren't really kind of like appealing more towards like what is like hip and going on like right now. I sound a bit like a hipster when I say that.
Yeah. No, I get you.
But yeah, and I kind of like more of like adventurous kind of movies. Not really movies that are like adhering to like what is hip and what is not. It's kind of like indie kind of movies where they have a story to tell and it's not governed by like some major producer saying, well, you know what, demons are in, so if it's not going to have any demons, I don't want to hear about it. So I kind of like, I like those movies because they have more heart in it. You can tell that it's not, it doesn't really feel like that mechanical, if I may say.
Yeah. Are there some like good are there some like good modern indie horror films that you watched recently?
One that actually comes to mind is It Follows. That was actually like quite good. Because it does kind of like focus on more of like a it feels less kind of mechanical, and I kind of really like the growth of like kind of like the growth of like the characters that are kind of going on towards the movie, because like one of like the main things is a character needs arc. Like they have to be different from A to B, and when a movie is able to accomplish that, then I definitely think that that's like a really good thing. Because it creates like more emotional engagement. One of like my most like one of the most important aspects of cinema is definitely the emotional engagement. Like what are we getting from us?
Like what can we connect with while we're watching it? It's not just there to be like a spectacle thing. Like you have to sort of be connected with what's happening, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And that's kind of like when I harken back to Friday the 13th, the jock who's like really kind of sleeping with like everyone. He's still a bit of a he's still a jerk by the end of the movie. So if we want like something that's like relatable, we would perhaps want him to be a bit more of like a nice guy, but also like on like the reverse side, like have like the nice guy be turned into like a jerk. So it can go either ways, as long as like we see a change in character, because and that really like relates to us as people, because no one stays the same. Like a year from now it could be completely different because of X, Y, and Z, and we should definitely see that in a movie.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with you on that. I think a lot of the time, especially for some reason in the horror genre, it somehow does feel like it's become very mechanical, and it's like it's a trend to do stuff certain ways, and like cheap jump scares and all that sort of stuff, and it makes for a very like forgettable experience in the cinemas or at home. Like you don't really get much out of it, which is lacking, because I feel like you're right. I feel like some of the old school horror films, there was a bit more development with the characters, and even more focus on the characters opposed from like the antagonists sometimes, you know. Like I know like Jaws is kind of a weird one to put in the horror category. I know it is kind of a horror, but it also kind of isn't. But what I love about that movie is that we barely actually end up seeing like the shark. It's mainly about the characters in the movie, and I think that's why I love that movie so much. So I know there's a lot of examples of other horror movies like that too. So so we're going into like the spooky season now of the year. What are some of your favorite movies to watch like during this time of the year? Do you have favorites, or is it kind of just like a mixed bag?
Can actually be a bit of a mixed bag, eh? Well, I have like a certain set of horror movies that. Okay, so I can be a bit of a mixed bag with this because there's certain like there are two types of movies that I kind of like look into, like in terms of like horror. There's like the kind of, I call them junk food horror, whereas they don't really require like, and this is definitely not to say that they're bad. They're actually like quite good, like in their own respects, but they don't really like require like that much thinking. Like you can kind of just like sit back, relax, and watch this. And there are like the other side of that coin are like horror movies that really keep you on your feet. You really have to pay attention. Like, okay, cool, what's happening over here? Who caused this? Just really kind of movies that really make you think. And an example of kind of like a junk food kind of movie is Freddy versus Jason, which I think I saw a couple of weeks ago. I've seen that movie dozens of times. In fact, it used to be like a bit of a tradition, like whenever I went to go see my cousin, like we'd always rent that one movie.
Nice. That's awesome.
But with me, that's just kind of like a movie where I can just sit back, relax, and just kind of like watch it. I've seen it a dozen times, but it kind of brings out like whole nostalgic, but also you don't really have to think about what's happening. I mean, the premise is very basic. Two very notorious killers are out to get each other.
Yeah.
And the second is kind of like the movie that makes you think, that really pulls you in, really pulls you in. And this is one of my all-time favorite movies. Like right there at the tippy top. The Thing. 1982's John Carpenter's original. I love that movie because you can't just look at everything at face value. You really have to think and you really have to think and look at the aspect of like what every character is doing, because every character is doing something that is either like within like their original character, or it's just kind of something a bit new, and then kind of turns into like a game of like Among Us. Like, I don't know. Hey, Palmer's looking a bit sus.
Yeah, exactly.
But just in terms of like movies that are like my favorites, those have to be two movies that are quite different in terms of like why I like them, but they're good movies, like nonetheless. And there's also like a third kind of like category, and those are movies that really play into the concept. And one movie that really does that extremely well is Eight-Legged Freaks. I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't seen that one, I don't think.
Okay, so it is a bit more of a junk food kind of horror. I mean, the premise is very cheesy. Radioactive giant spiders attack a town. It's cheesy.
Okay, sounds awesome.
But it's how they do that movie, because I think the makers of that movie knew that it was going to be cheesy, so they thought, you know what, if it's going to be cheesy, we're going to make a pizza out of it. And they play into that whole like comedic kind of aspect, all while like making it like a proper kind of horror. And there are definitely movies in there that are a bit tension grabbing, like that, but they're also like movies that are played out purely for like comedic like comedic purposes. And to me, that is just, it's a movie that really leans into its concepts, and it works very incredibly well.
That's awesome. I'm going to add that to my list because I want to check that out. It sounds really cool. So, okay, so now going into this other question now. So you mentioned The Thing, the good one. And then there was the one, I think they released in 2011. And I think one of the defining differences between those two films, there's a lot of differences, but one of them being the practical effects versus like the more visual effects route of the newer one. So my question is, what do you think of practical effects versus visual effects, and why? And which one do you find scarier, and why? It's a tough question.
No, well, for me, it's quite simple.
Okay.
So yeah, and actually, like, this would have been like my main kind of like point is The Thing, the original 1982 version. Well, I don't want to say version because then they sound like remakes, because it's definitely not a remake. I know a few people kind of like mix it up, but I would have to say that like one of like the most defining aspects of the original was its use of practical effects. Versus the prequel, which relied solely on CGI, and the CGI. Well, the prequel had a good story. For what it was going for, I really liked how they kind of like interweave like the events, because in the 1982 prequel, they actually go back to that camp to see, okay, what exactly happened here. So yeah, definitely. The story is there, the characters are also there, but the CGI, in my opinion, really hurt the film. Whereas, like, one of like the defining aspects of the original was the use of practical effects, and
definitely,
the person who actually created those practical effects, Rob Bottin, I believe his name is. He worked absolutely tirelessly throughout that film to make those to make every single monster, all but one. And I think it's the first time that we actually see the thing for what it really is. And this is just kind of going off memory because I've read about trivia for this movie quite a lot.
Yeah.
So the first time that we actually see the thing for what it really is, I think that was created by Stan Winston.
Okay.
But he actually said, I don't want my name on this movie, purely because this was Rob's movie. He wanted him to shine. And I think it was because Stan said that if my name's up there, people are going to think, wow, Stan did this. Okay, yeah, this Rob guy, he's not that important. Stan Winston worked on this movie, so I think he kind of just said, yeah, leave my name out of this. This is Rob's movie. Yeah, and yeah, the reason I believe why Rob couldn't do that scene was because he was just so exhausted from doing like the other effects, because he worked tirelessly, like 7 days a week, that kind of stuff. So yeah, Stan kind of stepped in, did that little part, but the rest of it is Rob, and he did it absolutely fantastically.
He definitely did. I mean, I rewatched the movie a couple months ago now, and it holds up remarkably well, like every aspect of the film. And I think the practical effects are definitely a part of that as well. Like, if the effects look dated, I feel like it makes the whole film feel dated. But with that movie, the practical effects are still absolutely like insanely good. So yeah, I think that is a very good example of how well practical effects can work. Yeah. But I think all John Carpenter's films like really use practical effects pretty well, at least from my memory. Yeah.
Yeah, and also like just in general, John Carpenter, he's actually I think one of my favorite filmmakers, I really have to say. and it really does blow my mind, like how the thing was treated back when it first came out. Because yeah, I mean, the film back then was bashed. People said this was like the worst film ever, but if you look at it,
Really? Yeah, I didn't know that.
yeah, people hated it back then. People hated it. It got like Razzie Awards.
Wow.
People thought that the soundtrack was one of like the worst soundtracks ever, but if you look at it today, it's getting the recognition that, in my opinion, it rightly deserves.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree on that. Yeah.
And also,
Sure.
yeah, also, if I'm correct, Hateful Eight was also quite inspired by the thing. Quentin Tarantino.
Oh wow.
Yeah, Quentin Tarantino's Hateful
Okay,
Eight.
I can kind of. Yeah, I can kind of see or like idealize the symbolism a little bit, like in certain scenes. But that's interesting.
Yeah, it's basically like the thing, but without the thing.
Yeah.
And the same person who did the music for the thing also does the music for Hateful Eight.
Oh wow. And I guess yeah, like Kurt Russell comes back too, which is kind of cool. So yeah, I could definitely see that. That's awesome. Sick. Okay. Well, so now we're gonna go into some of the Instagram questions that people sent through this last week on Instagram, obviously. So the first question comes from EXP Streams, and they want to know if you could direct any genre of movie, what would it be and why? So you can go first, and then I'll go second, unless you want me to go first. I don't mind.
Okay. Well,
It's a tough one.
I think that if I had to direct like a genre, I think I would tackle either two genres, either horror, because well, I'm a very big fan,
Yeah.
and I also understand how the genre works, but also drama. I definitely also like do a drama film because I really love emotional engagement. Like what I said, like if there's no emotional engagement, if there's no reason for us to care about these characters, then why would we watch it anyway? So yeah, I mean, I definitely have to say either horror or drama. And you?
Okay.
Yeah, for me, so I'm a huge fan of like coming of age sort of movies. I don't know why, I find those movies so good, and a lot of the time it's like they're super like relatable and stuff. So I might if I had to choose something to direct first, it'd be something like that, because also compared to other genres, I don't think it would be technically as difficult, if that makes sense. Obviously you need good characters in that, but like just technically, like with the equipment you need and stuff, I don't think it's as demanding, and I feel like it's like a bit of a baby step into the industry. But then I think also I'd agree with you, like a drama would probably be something I'd be very drawn to, just because I'm also a huge fan of like movies that are very focused on characters and, you know, like dramatic tension and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think either like a coming of age story or a drama. But I think horror could be fun as well, or like what's another good genre that could be good? Like even an action film could be fun, but I just don't know how I would direct action, to be honest, because I feel like it's very demanding. But yeah, another question. This is not on the list yet, but are you wanting to be a filmmaker one day? Just out of curiosity.
Well, I actually am a filmmaker right now. I'm kind of just taking a break of it because of COVID. Just doing teaching like right now, but that is definitely like a dream, definitely like a huge passion, and like the kind of the kind of stuff that I would really love to do is documentary film making.
Okay.
Because I really love like the whole like slice of life kind of aspect. You know, really telling emotionally engaging stories. And there's actually this one Netflix series that I watched. I think it was 2 years ago, maybe something like that. And it's called Dogs, and it's going around to like different different people and like their relationship with dogs. Like there's this one like episode where like this kid has like this one like disease, and so she needs like a helper dog. I can't remember like the actual term for it.
Yeah.
And there's like another episode where this guy who was from Syria, but he had to move to Germany, but he had to leave his husky behind. And the entire episode revolves around him getting his dog out of Syria and into Germany with him. And this guy has been trying for like 3 years. He's relentless. And then I can say like by the end of that show, I don't want to say anything, but a few tears were shed, and it was just so beautiful. It was so beautiful. And if I can get into that kind of filmmaking, I would absolutely love to do that. Absolutely.
Flip, I must watch that. That sounds really good. I also get super emotional with like pets and dogs and stuff like that. Like Marley and Me. I remember watching Marley and Me, and I was just like bawling out throughout that whole film. But I mean, like, and that documentary is like a real thing, like that, which is even like more sad, you know. So yeah, I must definitely watch that.
But there's also like a few like more like emotionally chilled episodes. Like there's this one about like a dog parlor. Like a professional dog parlor competition. So it's not all tears. There is like a bit of like fun, quirky kind of episodes that really don't make you cry, but really make your heart melt. And this one time
I love that.
This one time like a friend of ours, what made my brother and me watch Hachi. I don't know if you've ever seen Hachi.
Oh yeah, I think I did ages ago. Yeah.
Both my brother and I were just destroyed afterwards. Tears pouring.
It hits you. I don't know what it is about like those movies like where there's a pet involved. I think it's just something that's like super relatable, and I don't know. But it's like it hits you on a different level sometimes. It's really hectic.
It's because like dogs can't do any harm. Like dogs can't do like any wrong to us. And like the minute like those go like out of like the window, then things just turn into a tear fest. So
yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you on that. I'll definitely check that out. That sounds cool. Okay, let's go to our next question here, I reckon. Okay, so this is from Vaughn, and he asked, how are you currently dealing with the rescheduling of movies in cinemas? So, yeah.
I for one am actually happy about it, because there's one definite example that really comes to mind, and that's Jurassic World Dominion. So a bit about my background with Jurassic, like the whole franchise, is one of the main reasons I'm into filmmaking. It's one of the main reasons why I love this medium of art so much. I've been a Jurassic Park fan ever since I can remember anything. So when COVID hits and like when they like started like going back on set, they kept quiet about any like delays for like a couple of months, and it looked like they were going to stick with like their original kind of deadline. That was going to be next year, and I kind of thought, a bit dicey, very, very dicey. And then this new poster came out that said, actually, it's going to be like a year later. Yes. Because I'd much rather wait a bit. And have an excellent film than have it when we expect to have it, but have it subpar, because we don't want another Jurassic Park 3. I love all of them, but Jurassic Park 3 definitely had problems in the way that it was filmed, and that you can see it really hurts the film. So, and this is one of, if not the most important Jurassic film, because it's bringing everybody back. It's like Avengers Endgame, but Jurassic Park.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So I'm very much in favor for these delays, because it gives the films more time to really hone in on the movie. Say, okay, cool, we have more time. Let's make this as good as what it can be. Whereas having like a rushed schedule just to meet a deadline, and then having the film be subpar.
Yeah.
No, I think I'm on a similar page to you there. I think also, like, I went into, like, when the COVID stuff started happening, I kind of was anticipating a lot of films to get delayed. Like, I was very surprised when they actually ended up releasing Tenet in cinemas. Like, I really thought that was going to get delayed till next year, but they didn't. And I think ultimately it's kind of hurt the movie a bit, because not as many people have seen it as I think should have seen it. And at the same time, I think the money it's making isn't the money it should be making either, because people just aren't going to cinemas, and that's understandable. And yeah, like I think there were a few studios, like I think Disney was kind of one of them, and even Sony, that sort of just delayed their movies straight away. But then like Universal and it wasn't Universal, it was Warner Brothers, like with Wonder Woman and stuff, they kind of were like they delayed things a couple of months each time. But I think that's ultimately hurt those films as well, because like in a way, with all those delays, we've kind of lost a little bit of excitement for them. But like for the films that got delayed straight away, I feel like it sort of built a bit of anticipation for them. Like like I don't know. So that's kind of where I've been sitting on it. I mean, obviously it sucks. Go for it.
Yeah, and also, I think that Jurassic is also a bit lucky in the way that it got delayed, because it does have like a new series that has just come out, Camp Cretaceous, which is actually quite good. Like, I know there's like more,
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I know there's more like for kids, but there's definitely like previously said, like there's like the most important aspect of film is like the emotional engagement, like the characters. So I think that is kind of like keeping like the hype for Jurassic alive. So I think that Jurassic kind of got a bit lucky in terms of that. And also they just released season 2. The teaser for season 2, like a few weeks after season 1 dropped. So I think that they're a bit lucky in that regard, that they're able to keep that hype alive.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, and I mean, like at the end of the day, like if a movie gets delayed, it's I don't mind waiting for it, but I think it's frustrating when a movie like it keeps getting rescheduled, but then gets delayed. Like I don't know why people just don't delay everything until next year. That makes way more sense in my head, but. Anyway, or the following year even.
Kind of sounds a bit like Avatar.
Yeah, exactly. But like a film like Dune, even, because I'm really excited for Dune. At the end of the year, like I kind of expected that film to get delayed, and then they delayed it, and that's fine, or rescheduled it. And I don't mind waiting for that, but like a film like Wonder Woman, I think it's been delayed like nearly 3 or 4 times now, and it keeps getting rescheduled and rescheduled. I'm like, why not just move it to next year or the following year and just leave it there? Like, I don't know, because it messes with people's expectations a bit, I feel, but that's just me.
Yeah, definitely, I completely agree.
Yeah. Okay, sick. Next one. Okay, so this one comes from John, and he wants to know what's more. We kind of chatted about this already as well, but what's more important, concept or characters? And then in brackets they put Christopher Nolan. So, yeah, I think he's trying to like ask the question with regards to Christopher Nolan films in a way, because I feel like he does focus a bit on concept sometimes. But yeah, what is your opinion on that? You've kind of said it already, but yeah.
Well, yeah, definitely characters. And,
Yeah.
well, I can kind of bring up two scenarios. One, okay, so I can really speak more on like the character kind of, on like the character side more so than the concept side, because on the concept side we have Tenet. Full disclosure, I haven't seen Tenet, but I've heard of like the concept. I've been chatting to Kish about it, and it does sound a bit convoluted. Like there are times when he does like allow us to like, where he does kind of explain it to us. But there are but then we kind of get to the flip side of that argument, and that's characters. And he birthed one of the best, if not the best, interpretations of a classic DC villain. The Joker. So, and his character made that movie. I really do think. And so if you take away the Joker, or if you made like another Jacker and Nicholson, then I don't think the movie would have been as strong. So I definitely have to say that character is the most prevalent aspect of the film, I think, because even if you have like the same concept, everyone has different personalities. Everyone reacts to different kind of thing. So if you make like a horror movie about people lost in like a cabin in the woods, if you have different characters, it's going to be a different movie.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah, I think I agree with you on that 100%. Characters definitely are more important, and I think, like, in a way, although maybe the concept could draw us into the cinema, I think the characters will make us remember the movie more, if that makes sense. Like, I can think of a lot of examples where a concept of a film was kind of good, but then it just kind of fell short, like at the end of it. But where a film gets the characters right, it's usually a lot more engaging and rememberable. And when it gets to the characters and concept right, that is like that's like the best thing. So I'm trying to think of like an example I can use that would be a good one. But like even like most Pixar films, actually, I would say like what should I say? Like Inside Out, like that was a really interesting concept. I don't know if you've seen that film, but it was a really interesting concept, and then the characters as well were really interesting, which made a very great movie. And I think that's the perfect combination, is having a good concept and good characters. But when you just have a good concept, I feel like it's enjoyable in the moment at times, but you left kind of wanting more, if that makes sense, because you can't resonate with anything that's going on. So
definitely. I have to say that Inside Out is one of my favorite movies.
It's so good.
I saw that movie in the cinema and it almost drove me to tears. I love that movie.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Bro, just to quickly go on the Pixar trend here, I remember after work once, I went to go watch Coco. I don't know if you've seen Coco. But I went to go watch Coco, and I was like I think I was the only person in the cinema besides like this parents and their child. And I remember like at the end of the movie, dude, I was just crying, and then like I walked out and the kid and the parent were fine, and I was like all emotional. I was like, dude, this movie hit me so hard. So yeah, Pixar movies are crazy sometimes, dude. You never know what's gonna happen. So yeah, but that was also a good one. I love Pixar in general. I think they're really cool.
Yeah, same. Pixar has like a trend where they almost always like hit it out of the park, and even like in like Toy Story 3, I saw that movie in the cinema, and that last part when like they're like when they're all like facing like the incinerator, and they just think, okay,
Oh yeah, dude.
this is it.
Yeah.
This is the end. And they all like grab, they all like hold each other's hands. Oh, tears
Dude.
everywhere.
That hit me hard, bro. Because like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you and myself, we were like a similar age, but we like grew up with those films. So like, the idea of those characters like dying was like insane. Like, yeah, that was a good movie. I actually really enjoyed Toy Story 3. Okay, next question is from Caleb, and he wants to know best actors out there currently. So this is kind of a broad question. I don't know, what are your personal favorite actors out there at the moment?
I have a few.
Yeah.
Although I can be a bit bad at naming actors as well. But one
That's
that
fair enough.
for some reason comes to mind is definitely Bill Nighy. Like I always
Yeah.
enjoy his characters, and like when I saw he was in Detective Pikachu, I just thought, okay, it's an even. This movie just got even better. I mean,
Yeah.
because I mean he's just like an incredible actor. I've seen like quite a few of his movies, and also like Ryan Reynolds. He's also like incredible. But it's also actors that can show like range as well.
Yeah.
Cause like when I see like an actor like in kind of like a different kind of setup or like a different kind of concept, to me that really sings with the actor's like ability, and like there's like quite a few like really cool action actors out there that are like really really good, but they do sometimes just stay in action movies. So I think it's just that's just kind of like the result of like type casting. But if you can get like an actor who's like heavily into action, and then you just see them in like this drama film, to me, I really really enjoy actors that have like that kind of range.
So I'm not going to mention the super like popular actors because I feel like everyone sort of knows about them already. And then there was this. So the one person I was going to mention, I think her name is. I can't remember exactly what her name is, but she's in Knives Out. Have you seen Knives Out?
Yes, Knives Out.
The main like character, the main girl character in that film. I always forget what the actress's name is. And she's also in Blade Runner 2049.
Armas.
Yes. Dude, I feel like she is going to be like one of the big actresses one day. I feel like she's got a lot in her stall. Because, I thought she was like the best part of Knives Out, and she was with other incredible actors in that film. So, I'm really excited to see where her career goes. I'm also like, I'm a huge fan of Ryan Gosling. I just am. I think he's really underrated. Who else? Also, I like Emma Stone as well. I feel like she's really good. I think she deserves more hype. One more actor. Let me think. I'm probably forgetting so many people here, but yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I would also say the two main two actors in Tenet, like John David Washington and Robert Pattinson. I think they are both really good actors, and I'm really keen to see where they go in the future. And I mean, seeing Robert Pattinson in like The Lighthouse last year, I don't know if you've seen that movie. He was really good in that. I'm really keen to see their careers go somewhere in the future. So I would say those are probably some of my favorites at the moment, at least.
Actually, so you speak about Ana de Armas. I might be butchering her name.
Yeah, well, at least you know her name. Yeah.
So I think I've seen like 4 of her films. So she was in this one movie with Keanu Reeves called Knock Knock.
Okay.
So what she plays like one of like those cheerleader turned very, very sinister parts where she
Okay.
gives Keanu Reeves like hell, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, like she causes like a lot of hell, like with like this other character, but also, which is like in a huge contrast to her character in Knives Out. I mean, in Knives Out, she's like very kind of close and very like unsure, actually very
Yeah.
caring, but in Knock Knock, she's not caring at all.
Sure.
So, and also like, I just saw like another example, Emma Roberts.
Yes,
So
yeah.
she normally plays
That's
like the cheerleader. I can get any kind of guy that I want, kind of actress. But there's this one movie, Nerve, that she's in,
I've seen that.
where she plays a lot more self-conscious. Like she's very unsure of herself. Like to me, that just says, okay, she has range. This is actually like
Yeah.
like credible. So that is definitely actually like a very good example of a character just displaying range. So yeah, you get like overconfidence on like one side of like the coin, and then like on the other side, it's just complete lack of confidence. So yeah, I really have to say I really did enjoy both of those character types.
Yeah, no, that's very, very true. Okay, sick. So I don't know if you've seen the series or not, but Edward wants to know our thoughts on the Dexter series returning for the final season. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that, if you have any.
So I had no idea Dexter was making a comeback. I have no idea.
Really?
Yeah. I really did enjoy Dexter. How it ended, I don't agree with. For me, season 2 was the best season. I don't want to say anything, for those who haven't seen it, and I don't want to say, well, this happened, and then they're like, now I can't watch.
Yeah. Yeah. As far as I know, I think they like this later season is going to kind of be like a bit of a retcon to the final season, if that makes sense. They're going to like sort of retell the ending in a different way. I don't know how it's going to work, but yeah, that's what I've heard. So, yeah. But I must say, I haven't watched all of Dexter either. I haven't watched it in its entirety, so I can't really comment on this, to be honest. I've watched bits of it, but I haven't watched it the whole way through. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very good series, but how it ended was a bit iffy.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Cool. Moving on. So I also haven't watched all of this yet, but Vivi wants to know, what do you think of Lovecraft Country? I don't even know if you've seen it. Have you seen it?
I have seen, I think, 2 episodes of it. It's very, very cool.
Okay.
I love like the whole like lore behind Lovecraft. Like Cthulhu, and just also like that kind of genre. I think it's like a very kind of cool kind of genre, and I played a myriad of different board games pertaining to Lovecraft kind of lore. Like I think there's one game that I play called Mansion of Madness that is very, very heavily inspired by Lovecraft, and I think it's very cool. Even one of my characters was like one of my D&D characters was kind of like a warlock in favor to like a Cthulhu type being. So that's what really drew me in to Lovecraft. But yeah, I've seen 2 episodes of it.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure what to think of it, but I'm very early into it, so I don't want to say yeah, it's cool or no, it's not. So I first want to give the entire season a watch through before I actually say yeah, it's cool or that's a bit iffy.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen the first, I think, 3 episodes, and every episode so far has been so different. Like, it almost feels like a different show at times. So I'm also, like, in a space where I'm like, I don't really know what's going on, but I'm sure it will all tie up in the end. So, yeah, I think I'm the same as you. Like, I'm kind of enjoying it. I like the concept of it, but I don't know enough yet to comment on whether or not I really enjoy it. So, yeah. Cool. So this comes from Nerdgasm, and they want to know, should there be another Die Hard film? So, I mean, I'll share my thoughts on this quick. There was an ad that released, I think it was yesterday, but it had Bruce Willis returning as John McClane, and everyone before that ad release thought it was going to be like an announcement for another Die Hard movie. I don't think it is. But yeah, I personally don't think there should be another Die Hard movie unless they like reinvent the franchise to a certain extent and kind of like yeah, I don't know, almost tie it up and conclude it, but make it like more like the first film than any of the other ones, because I feel like as those films went on, they just got like more and more crazy and out there and unbelievable. So yeah, I don't know, those are my thoughts.
So I think I've only really seen Die Hard 3. But I've been Die Hard 2 and 3, I think. Because, yeah, the one... Yeah, the one where John McClane has to save his daughter. So I've seen that one, but that was years and years and years ago. I've been meaning to watch the first one because the first one looks very, very good. But I think I think you really hit the nail on the head. Like, if they do like the same crazy kind of stuff, cool. We've seen it, nothing really new. But if they try and like rework it, and I don't really know how they would rework it because I haven't really seen the franchise. I've only seen like maybe 1, 2 at the most movies. So I can't really comment on that too much. But what I can say that is just really agree with you that if they do the same thing over and over again, it's not going to work. It's not going to pull people back in. But if they rework it, especially to like a new audience, they might be able to pull in a few new audience members. It's kind of like what with Jurassic World did, because over and over again we've seen dinosaurs run amok, especially like in the first movie. But Jurassic World actually poses the idea of what happens if Jurassic Park actually worked, and then so kind of went a bit iffy, and now the stakes are now like really up there because it's not just a single group of people, it's an entire crowd of people who are now at risk. And also like introducing like the whole hybrid aspect, like they really reinvented the whole franchise with Jurassic World. So if they bring us in something new, like, as you said, that could work.
Yeah, I think like, I don't know if you've seen Creed or not, but similar, like in a similar way to how that film sort of paid tribute to like the original Rocky films, but it reinvented itself in Creed, and it was a really great movie. So I think it could kind of work, but I don't want to see just another like cliche Die Hard film. They need to reinvent it to some degree, which I think we kind of both said. So yeah, okay, cool. So this is the last question for today, and it's again from Vaughn, and he wants to know, what are the best trilogies? So yeah, what are some of your favorite trilogies out there at the moment?
I would be remiss if I didn't say that Lord of the Rings is one of my favorite trilogies. I mean, that movie's incredible. They're long, but they're also like the kind of movies that you just can't stop watching, and they're just so relatable, and the characters, it is so good. Lord of the Rings is definitely like up there. but also like to me, like what makes a good trilogy is if you plan a movie, well, if you kind of like plan for it to be a trilogy. For example, the original Star Wars did that. Well, I think it was meant to only supposed to be one, but they did kind of leave like the first one open ended because Darth Vader survives. But also they kind of planned every movie that kind of like led into each other in like a logical kind of way. Whereas with the sequel, they didn't really have a plan going forward. And it's one of my biggest gripes about the sequel trilogy. It had its moments, it did. But because it didn't have a plan, okay, we're starting at A and we're ending off at Z. Here's how it ends. Here's how it starts. Here's how it ends. How are we going to get that? They kind of just gave each member of like the team like only pieces of the pie, and they didn't like say, cool, it's going to be this flavor. So we ended up with a very mixed pie that didn't work.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that, definitely. I think for me, definitely Lord of the Rings is up there, 100%. The original trilogy as well, the original Star Wars trilogy, and even the prequel trilogy. Like I know it gets a lot of hate, but I grew up with those movies, so I really do enjoy them. And then I said this last week on last week's podcast, but the new Planet of the Apes trilogy I thought was brilliant. I don't know if you've seen those, but those are really good. What else is there? Back to the Future is a good trilogy, I feel, especially the first two movies. So yeah, and I would have said Toy Story, but now there's a fourth Toy Story, so it's not really a trilogy anymore. But yeah, those are some of my favorites, I think.
I've seen the first and second Planet of the Apes. I haven't seen the third one. I have to.
Okay.
Because I really did.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I really did enjoy like those kinds of movies. But yeah, I'm just trying to think. I'm
also Spider-Man, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films. Like I know the third one wasn't the best film technically, but I really enjoyed that trilogy, to be honest.
Yeah. That's actually like quite a good point. Because like the first one, it kind of just deals with Spider-Man. Hey, Spider-Man. It kind of deals with Spider-Man, kind of like coming to terms with who he is as Spider-Man. And the second one like really deals with like who like kind of like the struggles of being Spider-Man. Like it's not all chalked up to be, and then I guess the third one is kind of like him becoming too cocky and becoming a hero. Yeah. So there's definitely messages. Yeah, there's definitely messages. And also like going back to Jurassic Park, like the first trilogy, the first two had very, very good messages. Like the first one was about how like genetic science can be abused. The second one was about conservation, I think.
Like conservation. Yeah.
And the third one, I guess, family matters.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
So, as I said, it is really about like how like each movie like leans into like the previous movie, and a few of these movies they didn't really have like plans to like go ahead at the start, but I think like in terms of like having like a better kind of trilogy, you have to really plan to say, cool, we're making 3 of these, but how are we gonna make it? How's it gonna start? How's it gonna end? So to me, that's really important.
Definitely. Okay, cool. So that is it for today. Dude, I just want to thank you so much for being on this podcast. I really do appreciate it, and I appreciate your insights and just your love for movies. It's really fun chatting to people who share like the same enthusiasm and love for films as I do. So thanks so much for being on today. And I must definitely have you on again in the future, I think. So
Dan, thank you so much for having me, and I'm always down to chat about films, even like how they're made. How they made different kinds of films. Yeah, man, it will definitely be a pleasure to be on here again.